Good morning students, welcome back. Hope you all are fine. So let's begin today's session by looking at this chart. You can see that I have already circled present simple. Why? Because we've already completed this particular tense, and in our last lecture we learnt about present continuous. So that is also done. Today let's look at the present perfect tense. Now, what is the present perfect tense? The present perfect tense is used to indicate a link between the present and the past. Means it is used to express a past event that has present consequences. Let's look in detail so you will be able to understand better. So where do we use it? The first thing is life experiences. What do you mean by life experiences? The experiences which we have during our life. Okay, so first and here specifically we talk about a portion of time which is not completed. So how? Let's look at the example. I have spoken to Amreen many times this week. Amreen is the name of a girl. So we say I have spoken to Amreen many times this week. Means I already spoke to her in this week. It's in the past, like I've already done it. But when? Like in this week. And this particular week is still not over. So students, there is a possibility that I may speak to her again, right, before the end of this week. Because let's assume that today is any day of the week, Monday, Tuesday or Wednesday. So we have a couple of days left in this week to get over. So there is a possibility that I may talk to her again. Second example can be that I haven't traveled to Australia yet. So it's showing me that in my past I have not traveled yet. Now that doesn't mean that I will never travel. My life is not yet over, right? So present scenario says that I may not have traveled. Okay, that activity was in the past. I may not have traveled, but there's also a possibility that I may travel because my life is not yet over. We are talking about life experiences over here, right? So the portion of time which is not yet completed. I hope this is clear. The second use is for the action in the past where the time is not specified. Now what do you mean by that? Means the exact time of that the event happened here is not important. How? Let's look at the example. Sunny has finished his assignment. Sunny is the name of a boy and he has he has finished the assignment. It's a positive statement, don't use not here. Sunny has finished his assignment means this activity was done in the past. He has finished the assignment. But when you hear this statement, students, the first thing that comes to your mind is when. When did he finish? How many minutes ago? So here time is not important, but focus is on the completion of the assignment. So action is completed in the past, but it has an influence on present. What is the present scenario? That the assignment is completed, right? When he completed, we don't know because it is not specified. So present perfect tense is used for such actions which are happened in the past where time is not specified, but it shows the consequences we have it in the present. Assignment is completed. Okay, that is your present scenario. I hope this is clear, students. Okay, and there is no confusion. So now let's look at its form, the sentence structure. So the form says subject plus helping verb. You already know what is helping verb. Here we use have or has as helping verb plus past participle. Now you already know what is subject, what is helping verb. Let's talk about what is past participle. I'm sure you already know that V3, third form of verb, right? Past participle. I'm sure that rings the bell. Okay. Here when we talk about present perfect tense, in that there are also regular verbs and irregular verbs, you know about that also. But when we talk about past participle, the regular verbs are created using the third form of the word, verbs ending in ed. For example, talk. Talk is a first form of verb. When you add ed to it, it becomes your past participle. That is talked. T-A-L-K-E-D. Okay. But there are also irregular verbs. They are created by adding t, en or n, etc. There are many others. Okay. So let's look at the example and you'll get more clarity. For example, deal. D-E-A-L. Deal is a first form of verb. When you add t, it becomes dealt. D-E-A-L-T. So that is your third form of verb. Eat plus en is equal to eaten. E-A-T-E-N. Okay. Then K-N-O-W, know, plus N, known, K-N-O-W-N. So these three and many others are irregular verbs and they have a different word letter to add to it to make it past participle. There are many irregular verbs, many other letters you need to add. Let's look at the another form of verb, like there are verbs that don't change. Example, cut, cut. Cut remains same when you use it as a past participle, like cut remains as cut only. So students, here there is no formula as such. You will have to memorize the irregular verbs, the third form of verb, past participle, how it is, there is no as such anything available. So you will have to memorize it. Okay, and it's easy, so do not worry about it. They are easy, you will quickly remember them. Okay, now let's look. I hope now what is past participle is clear to you all. So let's move on to the next slide. Okay, so let's again look at the form sentence structure. So form says subject. So what is your subject? I. Let's look at first that subject is I, you, they and we. We already know that, and also he, she and it. Now let's look, when do we use have and has? So when you have I, you, they or we as your subject, you use helping verb have with it. Okay, you can see in the slide. And when the subject is he, she or it, you use has as helping verb with it. Okay, and already explained in the previous class what is past participle. So let's look at that as well. Past participle, regular verbs ends with ed. Okay, example is also given, talked. Then there are irregular verbs ending with different letters which you need to memorize, and also there are verbs that don't change, that also you need to memorize. So this is how your form or sentence structure looks. Subject I, you, they, we use helping verb have, and he, she, it, we use helping verb has. And now let's look at forming the sentences. So first of all, we will look at forming positive or affirmative sentences. Subject plus have or has plus past participle plus object. So regular verbs, the chart of regular verb would look something like this. You can say, okay, so I have used the same thing I talked about in previous lecture. Okay, I, you, we or they. If the subject is I, you, we or they, you use have with it. And I have used past participle with ed, regular verb. Okay, so you get I have talked, you have talked, we have talked, they have talked. Okay students, then let's go to the subject he, she or it. With that you use the helping verb has, and regular verb talk, it becomes talked as we add ed to it. You can see the letters in the red color. Okay, so you get he has talked and she has talked. Simple, right? Easy. Okay, so these are your positive or affirmative sentences. This is the way you form them. Let's look at the negative sentences. How to form negative sentences. Okay, before that let's also look at irregular verbs in positive and affirmative sentence. Here we will not take all the examples of irregular verbs because there are many. So, I will just explain you using one example. For example, irregular verb deal, you add T to it, it becomes dealt, as I said earlier. So, let us look at its chart. If you have subject I, you, we or they, you use have, okay, and past participle. But for the irregular verb, you can see I have highlighted the letter T, okay. So, dealt, and you get the sentence I have dealt, you have dealt, we have dealt and they have dealt. It is not dealt, okay, it is dealt. Then you go to the subject he, she or it and you use has with it, and again irregular verb deal with the letter T, so dealt, and you get he has dealt, she has dealt. So, this is your positive or affirmative sentences chart, students. Okay, hope this is clear. Now, students, there is also a little similarity between the simple past simple, and here in past present perfect. Okay, but we will talk about it when we go to that tense. I do not want to confuse you, so when I will give you the clarity about it that time. Okay. Now, let us look at the negative sentences, how to form them. Okay. So, here you are aware about this rule that we have to add the word not to make it negative. So, same way regular verbs we will add not in between. You can see the third column. So, you get I have not talked. Now, you can see that I have combined again have not. Okay. So, you get haven't. Now, they are called contractions, and whenever possible you use contraction. Even if you use have and not separately, that is all right, it is not wrong, but if possible use contraction. So, have not becomes haven't. Okay. So, I have not talked, you have not talked, we have not talked, they have not talked. Okay. And when you use he, she, when the subject is he, she or it, you use has plus not to make it negative, regular verb talk with ed, and you get the sentence he has not. Again combine has plus not becomes hasn't. Hasn't talked, she hasn't talked, he hasn't talked. Clear? Irregular verb, again we will take the same dealt example, only one example, and same way you will get I haven't dealt, you haven't dealt, we haven't dealt, they haven't dealt, he hasn't dealt and she hasn't dealt. Hope this chart is clear, students. Very easy, very simple. Okay. Now, let us look into forming the interrogative sentences. Interrogative also again questions. So, for the questions have or has in the beginning plus subject plus past participle plus object and the question mark at the end. And when you talk about the first letter, when you make the question first, your have letter H in have and has would be capital. Okay. So, let us look at the regular verb. You can see have with a capital H, then you have your subject I, you or we or they, and past participle regular verb talked. So, you get the question have I talked, have you talked, have we talked, have they talked. So, you need to remember the pronunciation, as I always say that it should sound as question. Okay. And then you can see has. So, you get has he talked, has she talked. Let us look at the irregular verb. Irregular verb dealt. So, have I dealt, have you dealt. You can see have and has in the beginning. Okay. Then you have your subject, your past participle irregular verb, and then you get the sentence. So, question, you can see also that I have added question mark at the end of each sentence, okay, to make it look like a question. So, have I dealt, have you dealt, Have we dealt? Have they dealt? Has he dealt? Has she dealt? I hope this is very clear to you students and there are no confusions. So this is your present perfect tense and we learnt the uses, the formulas and how to form sentences in all like 3 types of sentences: positive, negative and interrogative. Hope you have a nice day. Okay, see you in next session.